Okay, y'all, this story is coming to you tonight straight from Colorado. Imagine that. Now, the elderly gentleman you see here, his name is Michael Clark. Michael is 75 years old, and he's a father and grandfather. This is Michael enjoying a piece of what is probably birthday cake. And this is Michael after two Colorado policemen came inside his home. Now let's hear his story. Okay, there is no way that I can describe what happened to Michael any better than his attorney has explained it. So let's get into his story. This is what his attorney said. We're going to go on and we're going to look at some of the footage. And after this video, I'm also going to upload the entire video footage of what happened to Michael. In the middle of the night, on May the 30th, 2021, two Idaho Springs, Colorado police officers, Officer Nicholas Hanning and Officer Ellie Summers, banged on 75-year-old Michael Clark's open door. They stormed inside and attacked him, pushing him down. Then they returned to the hallway. While Michael stood unarmed and in only his boxer shorts 8 feet away from them inside his apartment, and he was posing no threat whatsoever, and they tased him. Mr. Clark lost consciousness and flew backwards from the tasing, striking his head on a dining room chair on the way down. His head was split open and bleeding. The officer slammed his head into a shelf and then dragged his body into the hallway for everyone to see. And these officers were not done yet with Mr. Clark. They then climbed on top of his lifeless body, with Officer Hanning putting his knees over and onto Mr. Clark's head and neck, compressing his airway. Now keep in mind, this is the same way George Floyd was murdered. They handcuffed him on the ground, and he laid there non-responsive for 2 minutes and 23 seconds. He was transported to the hospital with his wrists and ankles restrained to the stretcher so that he could not move. The hospital kept Mr. Clark overnight to monitor his heart, which was not well due to the tasing, causing elevated troponin levels throughout his body and heart. On Memorial Day, he began vomiting blood. The day after that, he had a stroke. In the weeks that followed, he had to have a carotid artery surgery, and his appendix burst. All this due to the tasing. He was in and out of the ICU. He even required heart surgery, which doctors are unsure that his body is going to be able to survive. Mr. Clark was never charged with any crime. Mr. Clark is a proud father of 2 and grandfather of 7. He enjoyed a happy, independent life prior to this event. On May the 30th, 2021, that life that he enjoyed was recklessly and deliberately obliterated by the Colorado Idaho Springs Police Department. Now, 8 weeks later, he now remains in a 24-hour nursing home facility, awaiting heart surgery and the removal of his bursted appendix due to this tasing. He has yet to go home to his own bed and his 2 beloved cats, Marble and Gracie. The district attorney and the Idaho Springs Colorado Police Department issued press releases painting Mr. Clark not as a victim, but as a crazed person with a club-like object, who had simply been involved in a physical altercation. The actions of these agencies re-victimized Mr. Clark and his family, after he had already been, by police officers, stripped of his independence, his security, and of his health. Mr. Clark's sole objective in the time he has left is to do whatever it takes to ensure this horrific abuse of a citizen by police officers in Colorado does not happen again. That task begins by exposing truth and demanding change. With everything he has left, Mr. Clark does so today. Okay, that is the words of his attorney. Now, I have read many articles on this case today. I've actually been keeping up with this case ever since I saw the original body footage of it like 2 days ago. It's terrible. It brought me back to Karen Garner's case, the elderly lady in Colorado that the police completely and brutally abused because she was walking along the road picking wildflowers because Walmart had called them on her saying she stole from their store, which at the same time they took back the merchandise that she forgot to pay for because she had Alzheimer's. Here is that video in case you haven't seen it, and let me warn you, before you look at it, it is very, very disturbing what was done to this lady and her. This lady as well now resides in a nursing home, and she has not came back from what happened to her. Her daughter even said when she visited her on Mother's Day that she just wasn't there. She was scared to even interact with her children anymore. And this is all due to police brutality. This is the male officer, Hanning. He has been fired and has been charged in this case with assault. Now the female officer, the one that was actually holding the gun on Mr. Clark when they opened the door, or when he opened the door, the police went up and knocked on his door. They did not announce who they were, nothing of the sort. They just bursted in on him when he opened the door. They bursted in on him, and you will see all that in the body cam footage. Knocked him to the floor unannounced. Didn't say who they were. Mr. Clark lived in the apartment complex where they're like door to door. You will also see that in the body cam footage. What you're going to see in that footage is them actually going to the first apartment, the one that actually made the phone call against Mr. Clark, and they talked to a very highly intoxicated, drunk female that claimed that Mr. Clark had went and knocked on her door, and when she opened it, he just hauled off and knocked the hell out of her. Okay. After more investigation, it was found out that her and her boyfriend had more than likely been in there fighting, raising hell. Mr. Clark was trying to sleep. He had a big day the next day on Memorial Day. Him and his children, as well as his wife, whom is now deceased, always had a special thing, a tradition they did with their children every year on Memorial Day. So he was trying to sleep 11 o'clock late at night, and his neighbors were raising hell. Now, from what I have seen and gathered from all of the articles I have read as well as the attorney's words. Mr. Clark never actually went to their room like she claims and did anything. He never walked out his door. He was just hitting on their wall, asking them to stop. Well, you can tell the girl has attitude, period. You will see that as well. It was also noted that the girl really had no injuries at all. So, Mr. Clark was trying to get some sleep. The cops come up, beating on his door, unannounced, did not say who they were. Mr. Clark, thinking that it could have been these very annoying neighbors, gets up, goes to the door, and grabs this wall souvenir thing that he's got. And he walks to the door with it. I mean, you're talking about 11 o'clock at night. Young neighbors. He didn't know what in the hell to expect on the other side of the door. So he has this in his hand for protection, I'm telling you. Something like that's going on with my dad. He would have walked to the door with a damn gun. But this is, I guess, all Mr. Clark had. So he walks to the door with this. The cops see it, knock him down. When Mr. Clark sees that it's the cops, you will see in the footage that he takes this and he puts it on the top of his entertainment within seconds after he realizes it is the police and not the neighbors trying to come and cause him any problems. So he puts it on the top of it, his entertainment center. And then the cops start telling him to come out here, come out here. And he said no. I mean, he honestly, the way he says no, you can see he don't even know why they're coming at him, because all he's in there doing is in a bed trying to go to sleep. So you can tell this man don't even know why the cops are coming at him and treating him that way. He's like, no. And they shoot him with the tase in the stomach. Drag him out of his own home. 75 years old. Already unconscious and bleeding in the hall. And then this cop decides to do this whole neck thing that was done to George Floyd, to a 75-year-old man. And so he handcuffs him. When the ambulance gets there, they put him on the stretcher and they shackle him to the stretcher. You're going to see in the cam footage where when he finally does regain consciousness on this stretcher, he doesn't even know what they're doing to him. He didn't do it. He's like, what are you doing? I haven't done nothing. Now, I think it's pretty good to note, and you're welcome to do your own fact checking and pull up the articles on this. There's several many, so I can't link them all below. But you can just Google Michael Clark tased by Colorado cops, and you can find all these articles. It's also a good thing, in my opinion, to note that the girl that was intoxicated, that claimed he hit her, she's also has priors of lying to police officers. So that's going to be something you want to note. Okay, guys, let's watch a couple. Okay, I'm not sure how you guys feel about what you've heard. I definitely believe that this is another case of police brutality, another case of abuse of power, another case out of Colorado with police corruption. Now, the cam footage you're seeing here, I'm also going to put this entire footage in another video on the channel here as well, if you want to watch the complete footage of this body cam. Let me warn you, it is terrible. I also believe that not only the male officer should be charged with assault, the female officer is the one that pulled the gun on the guy, on the innocent elderly man that hadn't even walked out of his apartment that night. But this drunk chick here, that's notorious for lying to cops, being in domestic violence and DUIs, as well as there was no visible nothing on her that proved that she had been assaulted by Mr. Clark. No, I guarantee you Mr. Clark said, "I'm calling the law. I'm calling the law now." So she decides to call first, kind of save face, and be the complainer and not the one being complained against. Because she knew she was out of line. That's my opinion. Now you can watch this whole cam footage in just a moment on the channel here. This is disgusting, and something's got to be done with these officers in Colorado as well as everywhere. But I have seen it a lot in Colorado with elderly people. If you haven't seen my video about Karen Garner, again, I ask you to watch that, share that, because that is still an ongoing case as well. And it's disgusting. Okay, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Share this around. Get the word out. Let's help the lawyer, Michael Clark, Karen Garner, and even more know how this has got to be stopped. This abuse of power and police brutality with elderly people. Come on. My 3 weak spots. Elderly, children, and animals. There's no way I could live in Colorado. No way. Okay, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. And again, if you want to watch this complete cam footage, I will have it in another video on this channel. And until next time, this is UnJustified.